Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special emergency reaction PHLY Eagles podcast presented by Bet365 and TrueMark. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365 and visit TrueMark.com/compare for full details and to apply today. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCUA, equal opportunity lender. And now it's set. We know that on Sunday at the Link at 3 o'clock, it's going to be about 35 degrees. And the Philadelphia Eagles are going to welcome into the Link the pretty boy Los Angeles Rams. Welcome to the cold, a rematch of the Week 12 game in which the Eagles won 37-20, and Saquon Barkley had over 300 yards from scrimmage. Zach, will it be that easy next Sunday?
Well, it's never that easy. It frankly wasn't that easy when they played each other in LA. He just made it look easy. But I think this is a favorable draw for the Eagles. I think the Eagles are the better team. They're at home, more rest. As we said, LA flying west to east in cold weather. I like this for the Eagles. You know, any given Sunday, I get it, and you respect the fact that that's a team that's been the last team standing before, that coach, that quarterback, but I like the Eagles in this matchup.
Just to reset here, of course, that is Zach Berman. I'm Bo Wulf, also joined by Fran Duffy and Jamie Lynch. And Jamie, on the post-game show last night after the Eagles beat the Packers, this was the matchup. There were three potential teams. This was the matchup you wanted. How do you feel now after watching the Rams demolish the Vikings 27-9 and really dominate on both sides of the ball?
I feel pretty good. And the reason I feel good is just, remember how I told you guys, like, I feel like the Eagles just kind of own the Packers? I have the same vibes with the Rams. I just feel like the Eagles kind of own the Rams in both iterations of Doug Peterson and now Nick Sirianni. Matthew Stafford's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Sean McVay's got some great pecs. But I think just vibes alone, I love the Eagles versus the Rams.
Shout out to Colin, who was watching the watch-along during the game. He says he's already got some pizza reheating on the stove and in the oven, air fryer, and toaster oven. He's gonna do a little taste test. We appreciate that. All right, friend.
We got a cold slice. Yeah.
We got a whole week to talk about this matchup, and I'm sure we're going to get into the real nitty-gritty. But from an Eagles standpoint, having already known, the scheme of this matchup and having done the prep for that Week 12 game, what is the thing that you think is going to concern them most on both sides of the ball? I guess what are the two things?
Yeah, I would say the most concerning thing offensively will just be the structure of this pass game. Looking at Sean McVay and what they do from a zone concept standpoint in terms of stretching and stress those defenders, namely in underneath zones and middle zones. So when you look at the linebackers, you look at the safeties, you look at nickel corner, Cooper DeJean, those guys are going to be put under the heater here in this game. And so I think that's the big stressor there from that standpoint. It's not just a talent issue, but it's a scheme issue with the challenges that Sean McVay and this offense present. And then when you go to the other side, I mean, guys, it's clearly the pressure. They've one of the best pressure teams in football, and obviously they turned it into 9 sacks here in this game against Minnesota. We've seen the issues that crept at times with this passing attack. With Jalen Hurts, the run game is going to be very, very important for this one. That worked in the Eagles for out in LA on the West Coast. Saquon Barkley had a big game that day. They will need a repeat effort here in this one.
Rams defense on the season finished 26th in defensive DVOA, 25th against the pass, and 21st against the run. However, you saw the high upside tonight. Do you think, Zach, that this will be a game? We spent all day today hemming in, really breaking apart the Eagles' passing game, and is there hope for the passing game? Do you view this as a game in which they're not going to need to throw it that much because they're going to try to lean so heavily on Saquon Barkley?
Not necessarily now.
I did say Zach. I apologize. Go ahead.
Sorry. My bad.
Well, I always appreciate Fran's insight. I think that
Zach likes when I ask him a football question.
Yeah, seriously, as opposed to a question that makes me uncomfortable. I think that Saquon Barkley is going to have ample opportunity to run against the Rams. That said, if you remember, I thought Jalen was pretty efficient in that game against the Rams. I thought you saw AJ go over 100 yards. DeVonta didn't play in that game, they were still able to move the ball through the air. I like the matchup, both running and passing. I think they'll lean on their offensive line. They'll lean on their running game. It's a formula that's worked. You mentioned the pressure of the Rams. Now, the Eagles didn't have many dropbacks in that first game, but the Rams only had 1 sack in that first game. So I think that I really like this matchup. If there's any reason for concern, it's that you're facing a Super Bowl winning quarterback and a Super Bowl winning coach. And the Eagles they're going to have changes on their defense. They're missing a key defensive starter who's in the middle of the field. So there is an adjustment trying to figure that out. That's the only thing. But I think the Eagles are going to be able to score on the Rams.
As you said, Jalen Hurts in that game, 15 of 22 for 179 yards and a touchdown, 109 of those 179 yards to A.J. Brown and another 47 to Saquon Barkley. Fran, you were going to answer that as well. Do you think that this will be a line them up and try to run it down their throat type game?
Yeah, I think that's the big difference between what we saw this weekend against the Green Bay Packers versus this matchup against the Rams. The Packers have been a really good run defense for the majority of this season, and we saw that come to fruition in the game. We talked about the struggles that Saquon Barkley and the rushing attack had earlier today in our first episode of 3. But I think when you look at this rushing attack going up against the Rams, I think the matchup's a little bit more favorable. You know, they like to play in base defense. They play at base defense, one of the higher rates in the NFL. But I think that when you look at how that base defense is kind of how it's constructed, I think there are matchups there that play in the Eagles' favor. We'll get into some of them, later this week. But I don't think that the Eagles will be scared of running the ball against this front.
Now, this emergency episode, of course, presented by TrueMark Financial and Bet365. And Jamie, during our watch-along, we guessed what might the line be. I've just gone to Bet365. They've already got this bad boy up. Do you want to have another guess?
So I said 5 originally, right?
Yes.
And then I thought 4.5 to 5.5. The Rams did play pretty. I'll stick with the 5.
The Eagles are favored by 6 points.
Oh, love it.
Minus 280 to win this game. So that means they're only the third biggest favorite of the weekend, but 6-point favorites against the Rams.
I like that. I think that's giving the Eagles a lot of credit. Now, something to consider I hadn't thought about. Now, Zach talked about how it's advantageous for the Eagles to be the team on the full week here. They just mentioned at the end of the broadcast there that the Rams are traveling back to Los Angeles, but they don't know if they can practice. Now, obviously, it's a tragedy, and I've been following it, at like every waking hour, what's happening in LA, but they don't know if they can practice. I really think they kind of screwed up by not planning to stay in Arizona. I think to go back and, I know you want to be with your family. I know all that.
I don't know.
I understand. It's hard to but if they can't practice for another day or two on a short week of rest, they don't know if they can get in their facility. Like there's rehab, there's a lot of stuff. I'm not roasting them for it. I'm just saying it's another thing on a short week that the Eagles, it's kind of in their favor a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like they'll figure out a place to practice. They're going to have tomorrow off anyway, most likely. I don't know. I mean, they got a long way to go. There's no doubt the deck is stacked against them. But
yeah, I just think it's another little thing. I'm not saying it's going to decide the game. I just think it's you're already on a short week. You're dealing with your personal life on the side, and now where do they practice and how's the air quality? It's something to monitor.
Zach, I don't know that anybody knows Nick Sirianni's approach better than you do. How will he approach this matchup? And given all of the distractions that the Rams have, what he's going to ask of this Eagles team this week.
Yeah, well, first off, his big emphasis will be this is about us, right? And that they need to play their best ball. They need to have a strong week of practice. They were in for work today. The players are off tomorrow. They'll be in Wednesday. I think that they'll really talk about the physicality that's going to require, being the more physical team. But the reality is this, and I'm not saying this to puff up the Rams. We just spent a week with our viewers telling us that we puffed up the Packers. The Eagles just need to show what the Rams just did to a 14-win team, right? Yeah. I understand they were the home team, but that's a neutral field game, and the Vikings had no chance. We thought we were going to be doing a simulcast on a real competitive game, and the Rams dominated them. But the reality is that, I think that this is a confident football team. The Eagles know that there's a lot they need to address with their passing game. I think this week's going to be more about the Eagles than it will be about the Rams. I think that will be Nick's messaging, is like, we need to play our best ball. We need to figure out, but my guess is internally their message about the Rams is that a good, clean game will beat the Rams.
I think that's right. And personally, I feel better about this matchup than I did about that Packers matchup. I think if the Eagles do not win this game, it will be viewed as a disaster.
Yeah,
given the stakes. Yeah.
Now, to Jamie's point about the Eagles owning the Rams, I believe the Eagles have won 7 of the last 8 games against the Rams.
We own them.
Now
that makes me nervous.
Now, as Nick Sirianni would say, Jared Verse doesn't care what happened back in 2017, right? Braden Fisk doesn't care what happened in 2018. Matthew Stafford wasn't there, but
Sean McVay remembers.
Yeah, sure.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah. But momentum, I always quote Jalen Hurts, momentum could start and stop at any time. It's an illusion. Momentum is an illusion. Vibes are an illusion, right? It's about what you do tomorrow.
No. Vibes are not an illusion. Vibes are real. I mean,
both are. It's about what you do tomorrow. It's about what you do tomorrow, right? You rents due every day, as Jalen will tell you.
The lamp is never full, my man.
Well said. Agreed.
All right. We have so much content to come the rest of this week. We're going to have a live show tomorrow at 2:00 to unpack this further. Zach is going to talk to the coordinators tomorrow morning. We're going to have Rich and Jamie on Wednesday at 2:00. We're going to have the Professor Deniz with Fran and Zach and myself on Thursday. We've got a whole swooper going on, and then Deniz back in studio on Friday. So all angles covered ahead of this matchup. Before we close this out, final thoughts, Fran. You feel, first blush, you feel good about this matchup for the Eagles?
Yeah, first blush, certainly. I mean, I think when you look at the way that this Eagles team stacks up, in terms of how they run the football, what they can do defensively to limit the Sean McVay offense, I do feel pretty good about it. One quick thing that I think, just kind of as going perusing through some stats between shows here, the LA Rams disguised coverage at a higher rate than any defense in football, in terms of, all right, we're going to show 2 high before the snap, and then we're going to go to 1 high, or vice versa, or we're going to go 0 high, then go to 2. Whatever the pre-snap look was, they changed it up post-snap more than any defense in the NFL, more than what the Eagles did with Vic Fangio. So it will be a big mental test for Jalen Hurts, certainly going into this game.
Jamie, first blush, you feel good?
Feel great. I feel really, really good. Should we start looking at hotels in Detroit?
Yeah, I want to make that a road trip.
Ford Field looks nice.
I have felt all season long like, those two teams were on a collision course. I said it on the show today. I hope from a football fan standpoint that we get that matchup. Zach, final thoughts from you. The bet on the simulcast was that you would or would not get 5 hours of sleep. We're going to close this bad boy up. I think you can get there.
You can.
12 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Yeah, I'll get 5.5 tonight.
Is tired enough that he has to count. He has to break
midnight.
up 12 to 5 into 1 hour increments.
Final thoughts here. There's gonna be a story coming out hopefully tomorrow afternoon, maybe Wednesday morning, on Nolan Smith and allphly.com.
I'm looking forward to reading that one.
Got some good stuff I built up over the past few weeks, waiting for the right opportunity. I think the right opportunity is here. So there's going to be a story out on Nolan Smith. Also, if you want a Nick Sirianni drinking game this week, the amount of times that Nick Sirianni talks about Chris Shula, who he worked with the Los Angeles Chargers. Nick loves referencing guys he used to work with. There's going to be a lot of Chris Shula talk from Nick Sirianni. If you don't know who that is, he's the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams.
Don's son.
He's not Don's son.
Don's father.
He's not. He's Don's nephew, I believe.
Or
Don's grandson. He's Don's grandson.
Grandson, but I thought he was his nephew. but
Maybe
I
Grand
could
Net.
be
Yeah.
wrong.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure Monday night. I'm sure ESPN got it right.
Yeah.
Brother.
No, definitely not that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get to the bottom of that. on
Grandson,
tomorrow's
according to
show.
a quick Google search.
Grandson.
Okay. It's all the same.
The son
They're
of Mike.
shareable.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Not the son of Mike, right? Mike's the offensive coordinator of South Carolina.
He was the son of Don.
No, the grandson. No, is there a Don Jr.?
Of Don.
Okay. Okay. This is our fifth show in. Well, no, this is our seventh show if you include halftime and pregame in a 48-hour span or thereabouts. And we'll be back for more tomorrow.
Yes.
So looking forward to that.
All right. And we've got another exciting thing to do tomorrow as
Shout
well.
out to Julia. She does it all for us.
Shout out to Julia. Shout out to the sickos. We've got a lot more to talk about this week, but that is the initial reaction as the Eagles prepare for a rematch with the Los Angeles Rams. And they're going to have to prepare for Robert Woods, the best wide receiver in the NFL. For Fran Duffy, Jamie Lynch, and Zach Berman, and Julia, I'm Bo Wulf. We will talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.